Okay, so responding to this comment, I'm going to explain some tips for how to make bucket hats, because as you can see here, mine came out all wonky and weird, so there's a lot of trial and error at first. So I'll be using the Essential Clubs pattern. It's free online, so you can just print it out full size, and I recommend definitely using the seam allowance that they add there, because if not, then they're too small. Next step is to add interfacing. This gives structure to the hats. So here's the difference between a hat with interfacing and one without. For structure lines, I recommend making it one continuous loop as opposed to starting and stopping, and also making it a thread that matches the hat. And then I add structure lines to other seams in the hat. Next, when you're pinning the circle to the headband, I recommend pinning from the inside as opposed to the outside, because if not, it'll leave some weird space and make the hat all bumpy. So you can see the difference between the two there. When you're pinning the headband to the brim, put the headband in the middle as opposed to the brim in the middle. And finally, if it doesn't line up, don't force it. I really hope this helped.
Today we are going to be surprising one very special little girl. One of my best friend's daughters sent this to me and asked if her Uncle Gunnar could make her this dress, and we are not going to let her down today. I don't have a child-sized mannequin, so I'm going to buy a dress pattern and just alter it so that it fits the exact pattern of the dress she sent me. Now let's cut out that fabric and then start stitching the bodice together. After we've got the bodice stitched, it's time to start adding on those little gold embellishments just like her Barbie dress. Now it's time to work on the skirt. For a finishing touch, let's add a Gunnar Deathridge label and then pack it up and ship it off to her and wait until you guys see her reaction.
Oh my God! Uncle Gunnar is great sewer. Thank you for the dress, Uncle Gunnar.
And a kissing, dancing, and a loving, wearing next to nothing, cause it's hard as an oven. The whole shack.
No matter what machine you have, these are the basics. You only need 2 to 3 stitches, your straight stitch, your zigzag stitch, and your overlapping stitch. Buttonholes are pretty useful too. If you have a digital machine, the numbers on top of your stitches are address codes. The small letters just tell you what footer to use. Then we have the stitch length. The bigger the number, the further apart the stitches from each other. Right under it is the needle position. And this is an example from 1 to 5. Your machine will automatically do this though. Get familiar with the speeds, the back stitch, always back stitch, and the up or down needle buttons. Finally, the tension. The thicker the material, the less tension you need. 3 to 5 is a good average to have your tension on. And the top of my machine is used to thread the bobbin. And I have a video on that. Some machines have this. This is just a manual way of moving your needle up or down, but the pedal is way faster.
I think I'm falling for you.
I'm going to show you guys how to make a mask out of a cotton shirt. First, you're going to make sure it's 100% cotton. I'm going to make it out of this free pattern. To maximize how many masks I can get, I'm going to cut this from the sleeves. You should have 4 pieces when you're done. 2 for the interior, 2 for the exterior. Stitch both of them together at this point. Use a straight stitch. You're going to want to trim your seam allowance on both pieces. Now you're going to sew them on the top and the bottom with the right sides together, or seams on the outside. Now we're going to add our wire in the seam allowance on our nose. I'm using a pipe cleaner. Now flip the whole thing inside out. To finish it, you can use ribbon or elastic. I'm using the hem of the t-shirt for my straps. Don't forget to wash before you wear. Quickie break!
Today I'm going to show you how to make a dress out of an oversized t-shirt. First, just grab a dress that already fits you. Lay the dress out over the t-shirt and make sure that the shoulders are lined up. If you want it to have a different neckline, just grab a tank top that you'd like to trace. Cut around the shape, making sure you leave enough room for seam allowance and enough to fold over the shoulder. Then just flip the dress inside out and sew all the way along this line. I'm using a serger, but if you don't have one, you can just use a straight stitch on your sewing machine. Now you're just going to fold the armhole under and pin it. I did about a ½ inch under. Once you have it all pinned, you're just going to sew around the armhole. You can use either a cover stitch machine, a twin needle, or just a zigzag stitch. I use the pre-existing hem, but if you need to hem it, you're just going to repeat that last step. Here's what it looks like, and this is probably how I'm going to style it for winter.
Hi, welcome to Sewing 101. Please open your notebook to take notes. Just kidding, we're not on TikTok for that. Let's talk about seams. Seams hold pieces of fabric together. They are usually visible inside your clothes. Here's a few common types. This is a plain seam. This is a plain one with serged eggs. A French seam if you're fancy. A flat felt seam. And a double welt seam. Class dismissed.
cute cow mask going out. I finally ran out of cow print and I'm so sad. And what's really exciting is the next step in my business, I'm going to start buying bolts of fabric instead of buying by the yard. So that's a super huge step for me because I've only been going and getting maybe 2 yards at a time. And now I'm to the point in my business where I run out of fabric so quickly that it's not sustainable for me to keep picking new fabrics anymore. So yay, now I get to pick out several big bolts of fabric.